Hey everyone, hope you can hear me. Hope the stream is okay. I had some issues with the last video, so I'm gonna go ahead and uh, just kind of redo what I did yesterday, hopefully in a more condensed version. So, the video that we're talking about is from Catherine, and she had, and I'll post the link here soon, and she had made two videos. Um, a lot of a lot of interesting things. She was saying a lot of interesting things. So I was very curious about what she was saying. I saw it a few times, brushed over it, didn't think too much of it. It was pointed out to me that there were some things in there that maybe I should really pay attention to. Some things that might need to be countered, or to at least be checked or double checked. And I think that's what we kind of found here. Oh, I got a nice little And I think that's what we kind of found here is that, first of all, she's making it clear that this is her views. This is what she thinks happened. Now, some of the stuff might come off as, her pointing it out as fact, but I don't think she's intentionally pointing it out as fact. We know she got the left arm wrong with the right arm, which has happened. Even the cops that were there got that same thing wrong too. In a police report, they had said that they had gotten David's what was it? Lost my train of thought there. But um, I forget what page it is. But anyways, in the same police report, they had said that Rainey's left arm was missing, and then a few sentences later, they say that Rainey's right arm is missing. So that's why it's important for us to all go through these documents and find out what's in these documents and see what type of information we can get from it. So, with Catherine's video, um, and what she says at the 150 mark, she says that this is the photo that tells you everything you need to know, which I don't think is true. I don't think this photo tells you anything you need to know. It doesn't tell you too much more. It doesn't give you too much more than the police reports. The only value that I found in seeing the actual photo was to see where the placement of those bodies were. Now, she makes a great point here too, to point out that it isn't just about that. It's also about how the bodies were found, how how David's right arm was missing, how much of it was missing, how much of his head was missing, how much of his hands were missing, all that, right? What the daughter was like, what type of condition the daughter was found in, right? Very very gruesome stuff. So I totally get it. I totally get uh, why she's looking at that photo and thinking, well, okay, because there was nothing, right? Because it was kind of there was no proof of a dog mark here. That's why she thinks that it was severed off because of how clean that cut is. And what I'm curious about is, well, if that cut is so clean, wouldn't if the hand was cut off, wouldn't there be some evidence of the hand being cut off? Something, right? Some type of blood, something like that. But if it's so smooth, if the bone is so clean, I think what Kat was pointing out, and a few other people also have pointed out that it could be because of how badly the bodies were found, right? Because of the decomposition stages of those bodies, could be why the dog was able to rip off the hand clean. Now, another great point that was brought up, I think, by another Catherine, if I remember her name, could be Kathy. Another great point that was brought up is that we don't know that the dog did this, and she's absolutely right because we don't know. We can only go by what the police say, and we can weigh that against what we think. And so, obviously, what the police say should hold weight, right? It should hold water. It should stand up against any questions. And what we're finding is that it's not. It's not holding up, right? It's kind of like, whoa, and it's opened up this door for all of these theories, for all of this speculation, which is fine, because that's how we're going to get to the actual truth, is to speculate, to talk on it, but not to try to think that we're right and everybody else should agree with us, not to control this story, because you can't. You cannot control truth. Truth is the truth. You go where the truth leads you. That's all you can do. If you're not doing that, you're not searching for truth. If you think you have this whole case figured out, I have to really question that. But if you do, and you're satisfied and that's it, okay, great. But I'm not. I'm not. And I don't know. I don't know what really happened here. And anyone that says that they do know, I do have to question that. I have to question why they would say that. It's one thing to say, I think, but to say that you know and to claim that other people know is just crazy. That's just ridiculous. So, let's see. Stream's good. Everything is good. All right, moving on then. So basically, I disagree that the photo tells you everything you need to know. I think the photo only tells you where the bodies were found. That's it. Okay. She's very clear. Her view is very clear that David did not do this. My view is not so clear. My view is not so clear, because once again, maybe to a fault, but I'm weighing what the police say. I don't care about what the family and what the friends say and what all those people say. They don't know anything. They weren't there, just like we weren't there. The police were the ones who walked in there. The police are the ones who are responsible for collecting data, for interpreting that data into facts, for coming up with a theory or not coming up with a theory, but it is not their job to rush to a judgment within days. And I hear over and over so many people, oh, the cops, oh, yeah, they did a horrible job, but David's still guilty, but this and that, yeah, they did a terrible job, but they kind of downplay how terrible of a job the police did. You can't downplay that. It's a serious thing, and they did a horrible job. We know it, they know it, everybody knows it, God knows it. Now the thing is, what are we going to do about it? Well, I'm not just going to give them a pass on it. I want them to reopen this case, and I want them to prove David Crowley is guilty. If the evidence is out there, then they should do that. If there's new evidence, if these journals that we're hearing about from Kamel, right, about David's purge list and all stuff, if this stuff is stuff that the police have not seen, it needs to be turned over to them, or the police should go get it. It is not just about reopening the case to prove David Crowley didn't do these things. It's reopening the case so that we can see what the evidence is, see what exactly happened. So the case is not just slammed in our face, and then 1 year later, quietly, it's just turned off and nobody's talking about it, and the police don't want to talk about it. They're not going to answer questions about it. And then you hear family, friends, all these people who, really were not there, coming out and telling us, how great of a job the police did. Like Mason Hendricks had said how good of a job he really thought the police did a good job. All right? It's very easy to just say, well, he's just lying. He might really feel like that. He might really think that the police did a great job. I don't know, but I know God knows. Now, I can look at the same thing and see that, no, the police did not do a great job. They did not do a good job, and I'm concerned that there's still a murderer or many murderers still out there right now. And if the Apple Valley Police want to help put that speculation to rest, all they have to do is reopen this case and reprove their case. Because I'll tell you what, man, if they reopen this case, they cannot prove that David Crowley is guilty. And that would be the biggest reason for them not to reopen this case. But they're in a big spot here now. They have to do something. The pressure is mounting on the Apple Valley Police. This is not about the friends. It's not about the family. It's not about the fans. This is about what the police say, how they prove their theory, how they don't prove their theory, and where we go from there. Now, because of the documentary, because of Eric Nelson's film, the documentary, slopumentary, crapumentary, whatever you want to call it, because that was made, it does even raise even more questions. And it also gets us thinking about, well, okay, wait a minute. So we've been told we can't talk to the family, we can't question them, we can't do anything, we can't, because of their feelings. And they make a freaking movie about it. You making a movie about it? I mean, come on, man. All we're asking for is just some simple answers, and you can't give them to us because you don't have them. And that's not your job to have them. It's the job of the police to have them. And if they don't have them, then they need to reopen this case, and they need to whatever you want, recall this case, restate this case, and say, you know what, we don't have evidence that it was a double murder suicide. We don't know. It's unknown. But no, they're just going to damage this guy, just blame him because it's just easier for them. That's not their job. That's not their job. And it's not Gray State Team's job and all of the friends' job to try to go after people who are just questioning this stuff. That's not their job either. So, let's see. Looks like my backup feed failed. I hope everybody can still hear me. If anyone in the chat can verify. Okay, it looks like it's back. I don't know. Been having really weird phone issues, internet issues, all these issues. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep pushing on. We're gonna get there. Every time I move, there's like a light. Let me try to move around to get that light kind of out of there. Maybe that'll help. Got a little Sauvignon Blanc today. Right after work. We make money the old-fashioned way. We actually work for it. So anyways, she believes, okay, getting back to Catherine, getting back to this video, Catherine believes, and I believe she is sincere. I do not believe she is spreading disinformation. I want to make that clear. I do believe some of the things that she is saying could be interpreted as misinformation. Now, here's where it comes back on me. Okay? I asked her to give me links, to give me something, and she did. So right now we're gonna go look at it. Right, once I get through with some of this stuff, we're gonna go look at the question that I asked her, and I'm gonna pull it up. She sourced the document. She sourced the page. You can't ask for anything more. Now it isn't about, well, does she have? Now it's about looking at it, and now we can intelligently look at it and say, okay, well, okay, I believe this now, or you know what, she changed my mind, or you know what, she's absolutely right, or well, I don't think she's right because A, B, C, D. It's a conversation. It's a dialogue. So I think we could have a good conversation with Catherine. So she believes David was killed first, and okay, so that would I mean, obviously she's. I guess we got to go back to this. Is she open to the possibility that David Crowley is guilty? We got to start there. Is she looking into any of that? Okay, and maybe she has. As someone who has looked into that stuff, I can tell you there's not much there. So I mean, I can't really fault her if she hasn't looked at it, right? Because you're not going to find much. All you're gonna find is trails that lead nowhere, just firewalls that lead to nowhere that somebody is gonna try to take you on. I think a lot of people are worried that that's what this Catherine lady is doing, that she's trying to take us on a certain road or on a certain way. I really don't get that feeling. I really don't. And I could be wrong. I've been wrong before about other people who have turned around and all of a sudden they're like, it's like Jekyll and Hyde, man. You're sitting there and they just turn, and then they're happy about it, and they enjoy it, and it's just like you just can do nothing but feel sad for them at that point. It's very sad. Oh, we got a few comments here. Let me not ignore the comment here. Opiami, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. You said, right, no one was there other than the police. Weeks later. That's right, 3 weeks later. You're right. So the police weren't even there until 3 weeks later. You have all these people stating they know what happened. They're stating it as gospel when all they can really go by is what the police told them. If they're not going by that, then they're not telling us what really happened, because they don't know what really happened, or they want to believe something else, something different. Mason Hendricks told me that he had not read, in 2016, he told me he had not read all of the police reports, which I find that hard to believe, first of all. And second of all, if you're gonna go on social media and try to make all these claims, you better be able to back it up, or people are gonna call you out on it. So that's why he's been called out on a lot of the different things that he said, and there's a lot more that he has said. So it's all coming out. It's all coming out. But don't believe it. Don't believe when anybody tries to tell you that, we know what happened. Nobody knows what happened unless you were there. No, you don't know what happened. You don't. Now, Opiami also says, I'm also starting to doubt if the dog was there for those 3 weeks. That's an interesting point because of uh, the order that the photos were taken in, the order that the DSC photos were taken in, the Dakota County Sheriff's Office, Apple Valley, right? Because of the photos that we have, and it's hard to say because there's many photos that we don't have. But looking at the names of the photos that we do have in the 464 photos from the AVPD, you can clearly see that the earliest named photo shows the basement door shut. And so there was some speculation that the dog was trapped in the basement and was let out later on, right? Which obviously cannot really be true because the dog was out, right? When the police came, the dog was out, so obviously the door was open. So it kind of kills that whole theory. But we let the person go with it. They were able to say what they wanted to, and then and that was it. It goes nowhere. Probably purposely, too. Getting back to Catherine here, Catherine also says that the right hand was severed before death, and that's where she's saying that it was severed before death. We don't know that again, and it's like, okay, do we need to speculate that far? Do we need to go that far? Maybe. Maybe it's good to talk about it. Personally, yes, I think it's good to talk about it because when the subject was brought up, then I started receiving messages telling me why this cannot be, why the hand would look like this, why the arm would look like this. Catherine also says that she's not, this is not her field, that this is not what she does. She doesn't deal with that. But there are people out there who do, and what we need to know is, what would a severed hand look like as opposed to a hand that was eaten off by a dog? Would it be smooth? Would there be marks? Would there be anything like that? If the hand is severed off, wouldn't there be some cut marks on there somewhere that you would think that you would see? That's what I would think. As far as the head, it looks like the dog or something. There's no head. There's like half of the head. Picture like the Terminator type thing, okay? And the whole right side is just kind of red. That's David's head. All right, the whole left side of his head is completely blown off. You can probably see through the eye into the skull. All right. Yes, arms are out in a crucifix, but she acts like she doesn't. She doesn't even talk about. Catherine doesn't even talk about. Well, okay, what are the other reasons that the arms could be out there in a crucifix? Well, the dog could have dragged it, obviously, right? And yes, I keep going back to this dog because we're weighing that against what the police say. So we don't just want to discount the whole dog thing. At least I don't. I don't want to discount the whole dog thing just because we're finding so many things that raise questions about that dog. Just because they raise questions about it doesn't necessarily mean that the dog was not involved in this. It actually raises more questions to say, well, okay, well, why did the police believe that the dog did this? And they need to be pressured to either explain that or to retract that. So I think that's one other thing that I hope that the cops do. I hope that comes out of this too, is that they end up retracting some of this stuff. All right, I'm trying to find the best lighting every time I move around. Let's see. Damage before death was the mummified bodies. Okay, she said the bodies were drugged there. But yet, from my point of view, I didn't see any signs of the bodies being drugged. Maybe there were, right? Maybe the blood was cleaned up. There's so much stuff that they should have done, and just because it's not in those police reports doesn't mean that the police didn't do it. So we can't just say, well, if it's not here, if it's not in these photos, then that's all it is. No. Obviously the police took more photos of those bodies. We just only have one, and it was not on purpose as far as I can tell, but it is out there. All right. So let's see. Not a natural place to die. Not a natural way to die with David's arms spread out. But then it goes back to, okay, well, what could that possibly be, right? Is it just that just proves that David is guilty? No. There's nothing in that photo that proves that David is guilty, and there's nothing in that photo that proves that he's not. It's not irrelevant because she makes good points, and other people have made really good points about seeing it. I understand why they want to see it. Snowflakes, I think it was, was very, made some really good points about why people should see this, about, where it could be interpreted that I'm trying to control this case, and all I can do is tell you that I'm not. I can't convince you of anything like that. All I can do is tell you that I'm not, and that's it. You can believe it or you cannot. But I did not want that photo out there. I was not a fan of it, and that's it. That's it. So that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. Now, because of the way that David's hands were stretched out, that could have been the dog, right? Now, where David's where that recliner is, go back to the photo that shows that recliner and the huge red blood stain at the lower right side of that recliner, and it's red. It's a huge stain, and it looks like a head stain. And I think that's where David's head was. I'm going to come here and say that's where David's head was. I know that's where David's head was. You can't convince me otherwise. No. I'm just saying that's what I think right now. All right? And I'm open if there's some other thing, if there's a reason why the right hand, David's right hand would cause that much damage, I'm definitely open to it, but I don't see it. I really don't see it. I don't see David's right hand causing that much damage. And if David's right hand was gone there, it raises even more questions, because there should be more blood. There should be something there. There should be some type of sign. And we know that there are people out there who have said that there is a photo of, and Mason Hendricks said this too, that there is some proof or something. He told me this back in 2016 that shows that there was a hand in the basement. Now, we asked Detective Gummert if there were any body parts or anything else found in that house, and he said no. So again, we have to weigh it against this. So it does kind of bother me when it's like these people, they're purposely trying to mislead. Not Catherine. I'm not talking about Catherine here. I want to be very, very clear that the video is not to attack her or anything like that. All of my questions you can find on her YouTube video, and you can find all the questions that I wanted to ask her there. And she's answered some. I don't think she's answered all of them. I'm not satisfied with the answers that I've seen, with the answers that I've got yet. But there's only, I literally must have given her like 7 or 8 questions. So, I know she has responded to a few, and I want to get to the one that she did respond to, where she gives the actual source. And that's what I want to start with. That's what I want to go with, because that's going to show us what the police say, and we can weigh that against what we think. We were talking about Kamel being in a seat, like she was sitting, and so there's been some back and forth on the reason why why Catherine thought that Kamel was sitting, and that also goes back to them dying somewhere else and the bodies being moved into this location, which is something that has been discussed for 3 years, and it's still something that I'm open to. but I'm not seeing a lot of proof on. I'm not seeing a lot of factual data because there really isn't any. And if anybody is curious about, why we keep doing this, or what is the goal, what is the whole end game, what is all of that, then I think you're kind of missing the whole point. I think you're missing the whole point of what we're doing, why we do this, and why we will continue to do this too, to find truth. All right. So the seated, Kamel being seated, and she urinated on herself. That's another thing I'd like to hear more people's views on, to see what they think about that. Again, to even say that Kamel was sitting, like, are you just making it up? Is there anything, just because of how she's sitting? I mean, if you urinate on yourself, that's gonna show up like that? I don't know. I really don't think so. I really don't think so, but that's just me. I'm not gonna do that test. I'll tell you that. But and I don't want to see anybody else do that test either. But if you're gonna make that claim, do the test. Test it out. Sit in a seat, piss in your pants, and then wearing sweats. Right? Turn the sweats over for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and let's see what's there. All right, because I'm pretty sure it's going to look a lot different. But that's just my view. I think it's more bodily fluids and stuff like that, which she might have even mentioned on there too. So let's go. Let's keep on rocking and rolling here. Now the bodies aren't so in. Now we're talking about Catherine's second video here, because she made. I think she's made 3 now. So I believe we're just simply talking about the second video that she made, talking about the Crowleys. And at the 3:59 mark, she's talking about Rainie's arm being severed. Now, you can see Rainie's arm more than you can see David's arm. And I can tell you, just my view, right? Just my view, that arm was not severed. Rainie's arm was not severed. It looks pulled. It looks pulled. It does not look like, I mean, to me. And so, that was another thing. It's like, how do you just say that? Like, how do you know that? Why would you speculate on that? And I just think we need to be very careful about what we say. It's not what goes out. It's not what goes into the mouth that defiles us, right? But it's what goes out that defiles us. So sometimes less is more, and that less can actually lead to more of the truth. Let's put it like that. So there's no evidence. I don't believe there's any evidence of Rainie's arm being severed. But then, we hear people, good-hearted people, nice people, come to the group, and they're talking about hands, arms being severed, this being severed, and some people that haven't seen that photo. So I totally get it. And even the ones who had, probably might have a different view than I have on it. But I don't see any evidence of anything being severed. There's nothing clean. The cleanest cut in that whole photo is on the wife's sweatpants, on the lower right thigh of her sweatpants while she's laying face down. There's something there. That's something on these sweatpants that caused that rip. It doesn't look like a dog rip, but it does look clean. We know that a knife was found at that scene in the living room next to these bodies. There was a knife found there, but there's no talk, there's no proof far as anything that I've seen in any of the documents that show that there was blood on that knife. If there was blood on that knife, I think police would have made that clear. They have a diagram with 57 points, and we all need to go and look at that 57 points to really see what the 57 points are, where the blood is, where the bullets are. I think that's a really good starting place too. So see if I missed a ton of comments. Sorry, everyone. Hey, Kentucky Kim. Good to see you. Let's see. Opiami says the dog question is key. It's impossible, in my opinion, for such a small dog that was loved to not only chew through that much bone. It's absurd. Talk to any veterinarian. I think that's a great idea. It might be good to do some type of a poll, some type of a survey to pick our local vets, ask them see what they say, and then kind of pull all of those thoughts and see how many people think, oh yeah, it's possible. Oh no, it's not. Get some more factual data on it before we just go out there and just speculate. Now, I mean, you can't really fault people. You can't really stop them from speculating on what they want to speculate on. So I just think we just have to be careful about what we speculate on, and we need to be very responsible when we're doing this, because this is serious stuff. This is why she wanted to quit. This is why she wanted to stop looking at this, because it's serious. These are real people. This is a real crime here. Uh, Greetings inside the cave. Thanks for coming out of the cave. Appreciate that. Okay, inside the cave says, what was that tube in the tube in the tub? The tube in the basement bath. Okay. Anyone work with a tube used for blood or amputations? I've never heard that, but the tube looks new. I know a lot of people have commented the tube looks new. It could be for a respirator. It could be some type of like IV tube or something like that. The respirator thing, to me, like there's a little evidence to back that up, because if you look on the nightstand of David Crowley's bedroom, next to the gun safe, there is some Vicks Vapor Rub, which is usually used for people who have trouble breathing, like myself. Now, I didn't notice in any videos or anything that I've seen with David that he had any nostril, or he doesn't have that nasally voice like I have. That is just, for me, it's just natural. I had my tonsils taken out when I was 6 years old. So, it's just something that I've lived with, something that I've dealt with. But I would love to know if anybody has any ideas about what that tube could be, because I can't think of any logical reason for the tube to be anything but a respirator or some type of like IV. I was thinking maybe they were taking weed hits, and they'd use that pipe or that tube, and they put the other side of the tube out the window and blow the smoke out of the window so the weed smoke didn't stay in the house. I don't know, man. It could be used for anything. So I really don't know, but I would be very curious to find out what that was. I also be curious to find out what the pill bottles were that were photographed on the kitchen on the kitchen table. There were a couple, at least 3 or 4 pill bottles that were photographed, and it's hard to tell what they were. So I can't tell what they were, and they're not mentioned in the police reports. A lot of the stuff in the photos actually is not mentioned in there, and you can see why, right? You can understand why. But like, well, why do we need to mention this? We have those photos. It's not like they're going back to the photos and writing these reports. They're probably trying to write it, right then, as soon as possible, while it's still fresh. And that's another thing is too. I feel like even though Detective Gummer said we did get all of the police reports, I feel like I don't know. I don't know. But if he says we did, again, I'm gonna weigh that evidence against. Okay, police are saying this. Now, what evidence do we have to contradict it? What evidence do we have that shows that what they're saying is not true? And we've caught Detective Gummer in a couple of those things, and it forced him to backtrack, and he was honest about it, and he chalked it up to a mistake. A mistake was made when he told Dan Hennon. He told me, first of all, that he did not speak with Kamel's father. Then he told Dan Hennon that he did speak with Kamel's father. And when I questioned him, he said he basically messed up. He wasn't trying to hide anything, but it's just like you see all the research, all of the wasted time that we have to spend on these stupid little things in order to just get them to be honest, to tell the truth, to tell us the whole truth and nothing but the truth. They can't do it. They can't do it. And it makes no sense. If the truth is on their side, it makes no sense why they would want to hide some of this stuff. So, just throwing that out there, just in case. All right, let's see if we got any other comments here. Too large for an IV tubing, says Don Hilliker. Interesting. Okay, too large for an IV tubing. You mean like too long, or like the the actual hole? Like I don't know anything about this stuff. So any help you can get would be great. This is why I generally don't comment on a lot of the stuff that I don't know, but I love to comment and just say, um, to ask the question about it. So it's sometimes it's all about how we phrase it. It's too wide. Okay, interesting. So it's too wide. So what could it be, Don? Any idea of what it could be? Oh, and you're a nurse too. Well, please, I mean, um, if you have any ideas of what it could be or what it couldn't be, that would really help. Maybe we start with what it couldn't be. Right? We discredit all of the possible things that it could be, and then that'll lead to what it could actually be. And so, if you don't have a clue, like I don't have a clue, I think we got to do that. Okay, so it's too wide to be any IV tubing. My mom has one of the respirator things. So I'll have to go. It does look similar to those breathing, something you would put into a breathing tube or something like that. But it's something. It's something. And why is it in this bathroom? The bathroom, David built that bathroom. He built pretty much the whole bottom, the whole basement, right? So he built that whole bathroom. Why is that tubing even there? Does it have anything to do with construction? Was it moved there? Something with the daughter? Um, I don't know. I really have no idea what it could be, but it's clean and it's left there. And if there was some murder, if there was something that happened, why would they just leave it there? Why would that just be left there? So, just another question. Looks like a nebulizer tubing. Looks like nebulizer tubing, says Dion. Hey, Dion. Um, Interesting. Okay, nebulizer. I guess I should be taking these notes so I can go back and look up these things. So, nebulizer tubing. I have no idea what that is or what that means. So, if you can explain a little bit more about the nebulizer tubing, I would appreciate that. Just gonna make a note of that, and I'm gonna say too large for IV tubing. See, this is how we're going to get to the truth. We're going to talk about it, we're going to discuss it, and then we're going to narrow down what the options are, weigh it against what the police say. Let's see. So, no teeth marks on the bone. So, getting back to what Catherine was saying about the bone, because she's very, she did a whole second video, a third video, just talking about the bone and why she thinks the way about that bone on the hand and why it's so clean. And my only question to her was, well, if it's so clean, couldn't that be because it was just yanked off because of the decomp rate? So I've not gone back up to look at that. Oh, look up fish tank tubing. Interesting. Okay, fish tank pump tubing. I could see that. Thank you, Kentucky Kim. I'll look that up too because I've had fish for many years, and yeah, okay, I could see that. All right, so it could be a fish tank tubing. Cool. All right. So anyway, I don't think there's anything clean. No clean cuts. Nothing like that. No clean cuts on these hands, on the bodies, on any of it. I mean, I just don't see that. I don't see how anybody could look at that and see that it's clean. The bone where Catherine is talking about here, the bone might be clean, from what I was told, because when it's ripped off, it isn't like these two bones are together, right? There's something in between from the photos and from the stuff that I was sent. It looks like it could just rip off. That might help explain some of the other hands too. It might help explain the arm, I guess. But I mean, I just find it so hard to think that the dog ate all those body parts. I'm just having a really hard time with that. But we're weighing it against what the police say. Whew. Talking a lot here. Looking at the scene, I don't see how Kamel's blood and flesh did not mix with Rainey. So that's the big thing. To me, that is one of the biggest things here is if Kamel and Rainey were killed at the same time, how does neither of neither of them have the other one's blood or the other one's flesh on them. According to Detective Gummer, they had to have died at separate times, right? I mean, what else would that be? Separate times? Then we could get off into the speculation of separate places, but I think it's important to first note that there is evidence here that the wife and the daughter died at separate times, which is a big deal. It is a huge deal because what the sister back when she was still talking about this case, she doesn't want to talk about this case anymore, but when she was, the sister said what she thought happened was that Rainey and Kamel were sitting in the living room floor watching a movie on the Surface Pro when David came up from behind them and shot them. Shot Kamel twice. The biggest problem we have with if it's true, if the decomp rate is true, that her decomp rate is less than David, that David's decomp rate, he's the most decomposed, and then Kamel is the least decomposed. To me, that's a huge, huge deal. So I haven't talked too much about that because I need to go research that. I need to really, look at that. People have told me where, so I need to really, really see that. But because obviously that would not add up either, because Kamel, if she was shot twice, there's no way she's shooting herself. Somebody else is shooting her. That would logically lead to a fourth person. So I can see that. I can see going down that road, looking at it from that angle. I'm very, very open to that, and I'm really curious. I think that's going to have to be for the next week or so. I think I'm really going to focus on that, on the decomp rate, what other people think about the decomp rate, but I want to make sure I have the sources, I have the page numbers, I have what document says what, and then kind of go from there, because that would show something that it would show something very different than what the police are saying, and it would show something very different than what the Gray State team and what they would all have you think really happened, because they don't know shit. They don't. At the 11-minute mark in Catherine's video, she mentions the cut off hand. David's cut off hand. He cut off the hand before he shot himself. And she's kind of being facetious here, I think, too. So I don't need to spend too much time on that. But she's basically pointing out the fact that there's no way you shoot yourself with the right hand, and the whole left side is gone, right? So it's got to be like this, like something like this, to shoot yourself, and all this is just gone, just missing. You don't do that and then lay back, fall with your arms stretched out in a crucifixion. That does not happen. I totally agree with that. I totally get that. I think, but it's also okay. But what are the other factors? The problem is the dog, and if there is some foul play in this case, then yes, the dog is the biggest key of all of this, because that means the dog was used to corrupt that crime scene. So let's see. I do kind of wonder, if she was being serious, if she really thinks that the hand was severed off before the death. I'm very curious to why she would think that, but have to question her a little bit more on that. Is it a setup or is it a cover-up? The original position of Kamel is the same. That's what she's saying. She believes that where we see Kamel is where she was. Maybe, possibly. I'm not so sure that where we see those three bodies in that photo, I'm not sure that that's where the bodies were actually found. There's no gun. It doesn't make sense with Rainey's arm, right? Because Rainey's arm, where it is not in the easiest spot where the dog could get it. The dog would have easier access to the left arm, but the dog chose the right arm. If Rainey was on her back, if she was on her stomach, and the dog grabbed the right arm, ripped it, and pulled Rainey onto her back, that could be, the result of that image. We really don't know. Now, why that image was included in the PDF of what the police were trying to say, they were trying to say their statement. This is from the BCA lab. results. I think it's called BCA Lab. I'll try to make sure I post that one too in the comments. BCA Lab PDF, because that's where that image was while they're explaining this happened, that happened, that happened, and then all of a sudden you see this image. It's like, what the heck is going on here? So that was one thing that we had, and I just lastly, I think, lastly, I want to go to her video actually, and I want to see that. I want to see what she is saying, because she answered my comment. I had a comment, and I guess I'll try to read through the comment. Remember. Okay, I'll read the comment. I'm going to go ahead and this is from the breakdown of the Crowley murder scene. And what I wrote was, do you remember which document you found which stated that there were 2 sources of blood on the notepad in the office room? And are you sure you're not confusing blood with DNA? There's no answer for that one. She left an answer here. Okay, I'll have to find the one that she did leave an answer for. I thought she did. I know she did. Must be a different question. Give me 1 second. Okay, here it is. Oh, it's not on that video. It's on the 3rd video. So, no. Yeah, it's on the 3rd video called Clarification on Missing Hand. And let's see. The question I asked is, can you provide the page number and document name, please, for what you are saying, so I can research what you're saying, please? So now we're back to the hand, right? I believe, because that's mostly what she's talking about in this 3rd video. It's clarification of the missing hand. So that's what I asked her. Can you provide the page number and document name so I can go research it myself? And she did. She says, yes, absolutely. It is on David's autopsy report, page 2, last paragraph, under section external examination. So I pulled that up. That report, the David Crowley's autopsy report, it's a 6-page report. It should be in the file section in the Justice for David Crowley group. I also have it up in the research article where I have it's called David Crowley Research Documents, I think, and it pretty much should have links to every document, to all of the photos, to everything that I have so far. Okay, so let's go ahead and read that. So we're on page 2. This is the autopsy report from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office, talking about David Crowley. The pathologist, Jessica Lelinski. Staff was Mitchell K. Morey. And let's go ahead and just read the external examination. Here's what the external examination says. Oh, it's longer than I thought. The body is that of a well-developed 70-inch long, 128-pound male. Lividity and rigor are absent. The body is cool, refrigerated, we know that. Early to moderate decomposition is evidenced by skin discoloration, marbling, slippage, blistering, and mummification of the left hand. Early to moderate decomposition. That's interesting. Okay, so early to moderate decomposition on David Crowley is present. So that's very interesting. Post-mortem animal scavenging is evidenced by absence of the majority of the head and neck, apart from the posterior calvarium and overlying scalp, posterior neck, skin, and soft tissue, and cervical spine, and absence of the right hand. So even the medical examiners are saying that animal scavenging is evidenced by the absence of the majority of the head and neck and the right hand. That's the reason. Okay, that's interesting. I find it more interesting the other part here, early to moderate decomposition, because now what I want to do is pull up the other autopsy reports that I have right here, and let's see if the other people are early, if their decomposition is early to moderate. Interesting. if anybody has that or wants to pull that up too, I can wait a few seconds. But I think looks like in the chat we're still talking about the dog. Very interesting. Okay, so Leon is making it clear that yeah, the nebulizer is pretty much like uh, a a asthma tube, I guess, a asthma respirator is what I would call it, whatever you want to call it. That's what my mom has. About the same thing. I can totally see that. Inside the Cave asks, would a dog really maul that hard to rip his right hand off? My dog gently teeths my hand sometimes, but knows not to bite the hand. Somebody also posted that dogs like bone marrow, so I guess that was kind of a thing. Well, human bone marrow, that they would go after it, I guess. David's only 128 pounds. I guess that's the other thing. Could this dog, and the dog I think is bigger than what Catherine thinks. I don't know if she's seen the photos or seen anything about the dog, but the dog was like 15 pounds. Do you guys think that's true? You think the dog was about 15 pounds? I don't know. It looked bigger to me, but 15 pounds is like a fat baby. I just want to finish up on the comments on the dog so I can continue with the medical examiner. Sorry I'm jumping around. It's what I do, I guess. It wasn't a pit bull. Yeah. Mummified, like wrapped. I don't know if it's mummified. I know the hand is found with a with a brown paper bag at this point, and I guess that could have been from after everything happened, from after these deaths. So that could have just been the mummification. I mean from what you're reading here, from what I'm reading here, the mummification shows early to moderate decomposition. So I'm assuming this is how the body was found, right? This first paragraph, I have to assume all of this is talking about how the body was actually found. Oh, the dog is tiny. How tiny is this dog? I really want to figure that out, how small the dog really is. I'm very curious about that. So I'm just going to see if there's anything else in the David Crowley, because she said, I mean, do I have to read the whole external examination, or was there certain parts on it? Maybe that's it. Let's see. Posterior scalp is intact. Fragments of skull and additional small bones recovered separately from the body at the scene are described in a separate section below. See internal evidence. Let's jump down to internal evidence. We can see what small bones were recovered, fragments of the skull and additional small bones recovered from the body at the scene. Because there are one or two pictures of fragments of the skull and of what appear to be bones that we can clearly see, but not a hand, not a whole hand or anything. So I'm going to jump down to internal evidence, examined separately from the body at the time of autopsy, blah, 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 sealed from a brown bag, bone fragments near 15-0366, I don't know what that means, are multiple fragments of bone and hair. Okay. So maybe that's just their label number, but they found multiple fragments of bone and hair. A maxilla with well-preserved natural teeth showing no metallic restorations is present. Oh, please, somebody help me understand what that means. That's got to be an interesting thing right there. So there's teeth. A lot of David's teeth are still there, which is, to me, yeah, that makes sense why it kind of looks like that Terminator thing they got going on. A separate 8.5 centimeter max dimension skull bone fragment has a rounded defect along one edge with apparent internal beveling. The remaining bone fragments are irregular and of unidentifiable origin or consistent with phalanges. A tuft of short brown wavy hair is also present. So they found what they think are bones, but the remaining the bones are the bones are irregular and of unidentifiable origin. So they're bones, but they don't really know. They don't even know what they are. So it could just goes back again to why the police are speculating the bones are due to the dogs. It's just lazy police work. I don't understand that. So let's see. Was that it? Yeah, if you should, everybody should read this if you have not read this one. Because of the decomp rate that I see on here, I want to read Kamel's. I've read, I did a whole video on this, but I still want to read it again just to see what she's saying. Okay, the deceased, describe heads and hands. She reveals decompositional changes. Okay, so now I'm reading Kamel's on page 2 right now. She reveals decompositional changes. There is extensive bloating, skin slippage, and discoloration of the body surfaces. Okay, so compare that to what they say with David's. They mentioned David's was in an early to moderate decomp. What are they saying here? What are we seeing here? What is this telling us? We should see early to moderate decomp with Kamel, right? Because if David's is earlier and the police say he died last, then there it is. Okay, now I get it. Now I understand. This is interesting. This is very interesting. Let's keep reading. I'm just going to go back and see if I see anything. And the head, that's posterior, that's the brain. It would be really good for anybody who has not read this or can read this to help us understand what we're seeing. They even have some toxicology stuff in here, which to me means absolutely nothing, but I don't believe that it shows that they were drunk or anything like that, but it means something. So curious to see what other people think about that. Let's see. The dog is tiny. Check the photo of Dan Jr. picking him up at his shelter. Yeah, and then at the end of the Gray State, at the end of A Gray State, the documentary, you can see what the dog looked like then, right? So, is it 15 pounds? I don't know. I don't have a dog. I have a cat. She looks about 15 pounds, but she's a little heifer. So. Let's see. Was David a Freemason? I don't know if he was a Freemason. As far as I know, no. I know some of the people on the Gray State team have associations with Freemasons, for sure, right? We know that in David's trailer, there was a signs of Freemasons. If you've seen the trailer, if you've seen the guillotine scene, the guy who's chopping off people's heads in that white mask, notice what type of pouch that he has around his waist. It's a Freemason pouch. Sacred geometry. Let's see. Carrie Ann, what did you say? Carrie Ann says, oh, and that was For the Truth that asked about was David a Freemason? Carrie Ann says it's easier to blame the dog for everything, I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. And that's the whole problem is that, well, it shouldn't be about that, right? Just because it's easier, that should not be the reason why police jump that gun and just go to that. So let's see. Haven't heard of him being one. Yeah, I haven't heard of him being one either. So let's see. Wonder what he was. For the Truth says, wonder what was. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Wonder what he was all doing with the occult. Sounds like she was channeling or something. Yeah, the occult thing was kind of weird. I don't know. They did a whole section on it, and I was expecting more, because I had heard more. I had heard more that there were things that had happened with these people, and I didn't see any of that in the document because the wife's side of the family did not want to be a part of that documentary, and they did not want that footage in there. So I think there's a lot of footage that do show more about the rapture and whatever the hell was going on. It shows more about that. It's almost like this part could have almost been cut out, I think, but they try to put it in there and just act like it's, you know, nothing big. I'll tell you what I heard. Tell you what I heard. No problem. Let me just, before I tell you what I hear, I just want to go through. I'm going through Kamel's autopsy. I'm looking for decomp. So far, the only thing, I've only seen one thing where it says she reveals decompositional changes. And I'm trying to figure out if that will help us understand who was killed first, right? Because this is the report, this is the thing that I think because a lot of people have been waiting for to see. And so, extensive bloating, does that happen in the early stages or in the later stages? Skin slippage, does that happen in the early stages or the later stages? Discoloration of the body surfaces, does that happen in the early or the later stages? That's all I'm asking. I'm not telling you what happened. I'm not giving you my opinion on what I think. I'm asking. So, just going to look here quickly, see if there's anything more. Two mandibles. So under Kamel, there's bone fragments mentioned here. Multiple commingling bone fragments, including a portion of dark wavy hair and white cotton debris. Amongst this bony material are two mandibles. One shows numerous restorations. In addition, there are two fragments of bone with 2 and 4 teeth. So there's some of the teeth. On Kamel, there are 5 other additional teeth as well. There are multiple irregular fragments of bones that range from 1.2 to 8 centimeters. There are larger fragments that appear consistent with skull. Many of the fragments reveal linear appearance consistent with fragmented digit bones. So please go and read this stuff. I really want everybody to help us out, you know, and don't be one of those douchebags that just tries to throw people off of the track or tries to, you know, spread disinformation. The misinformation, we can all be accused of that. We could all do that, right? You could hear something in one of my videos or something that somebody told me that I say and think that I take that as gospel, that I think that that's what happened. That's misinformation. Disinformation is when you're purposely putting out false things because you don't want people to get to the truth, or you just want to laugh at them. Mentally ill behavior. All right, and I'm not seeing anything else. Here's something. There is a brown button front sweater with a collar. The tag is not legible. The left sleeve appears frayed. Otherwise, it is intact. It is stained with decompositional fluid and apparent blood. Now, I don't know if everybody knows this, but she was wearing Kamel, when she died, was wearing a Gray State t-shirt. Found that interesting, too. Gray State t-shirt. I'm just looking for anything else that might show blood stain. Decompositional fluid. So what's decompositional fluid? Help me understand that. Help me understand what decompositional fluid is, because Catherine could be confusing urine or something like that with decompositional fluid. I don't know. Maybe it's the same. Maybe it's a medical term for it. So that's why I'm asking the question. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the hell I'm reading, because I really don't. But I want to know, and I want to learn. And I need people that will really help me understand what I'm reading here, not people that are just playing games. Let's see. Okay, so we got the socks, and I think that's about it. I'm not seeing anything else. So if that's all, what does that tell me? Let's see. Let's get to the external examination of her now. Awesome. All right. The available body appears apparently well nourished. The height and weight are recorded at 5 feet, 85 pounds. And we know that she was more than 85 pounds when she was alive. What was David found at, he was like 120 when he was found. She was about 120 something before death. And here she is at 85 pounds. So maybe that'll help with the whole decomp. Maybe the weight. Would the weight help at all with the decomp question? I'm very curious to see if that would even help. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna get to what I heard, I promise. Just want to see if there's anything else in here that will show me anything about extending downward from the neck region onto the central chest is an area of discrete dark brown discoloration. Okay, not gonna read that. Not gonna read that. You can read that for yourself. You can read page 3 if you want. Nothing wrong with her. Everything else looks okay. As far as, there was some issue of, well, foul play. Did something happen with her? It doesn't appear that anything um, sexually related or anything. It doesn't appear that there's anything like that. That should be very clear from what I'm reading here. I'm not going to read it out loud, but you can go read it yourself. Upper extremities are stable. The skin, soft tissue, and bone margins are irregular. Feet are complete. Not seeing anything else here that talks about the decomp rate. So maybe there's something else that talks about the decomp rate, but from this I can't really tell that much about the decomp rate unless somebody really can look at the bloating and all that stuff and say, okay, yeah, so what happens. Here we go. Internal examination. The body cavities contain a small amount of decompositional fluid. The organs are in the usual locations. All right, so there's another thing. Decompositional fluids. That's page 5 of 6 on Kamel's autopsy report by the Hennepin Medical Examiner's Office. All right, respiratory. Everything else looks good. There's a lot more. There's a lot more stuff here. It looks like than what was on David's, which maybe that would line up with her, being killed last. I'm very curious about the decomp rate. From this, what I'm reading here, I don't know. Let me see if there's anything in the comments about that. The Bohemian Grove owl symbolizes, from what some people, it symbolizes sacrifice to the Bohemian Club members. It symbolizes throwing away care for 2 weeks. So they throw away their cares. They sacrifice care in the play, The Cremation of Care, which happens on the opening night of the Bohemian Grove. Usually that's Saturday night, the first Saturday night, and it's a play. It's a huge play. They sacrifice care. They put care before the big owl, and they burn it. Everybody cheers, and for 2 weeks they're supposed to throw away their cares and not have any cares. So that's what the Bohemian Grove thing was. Now let's get to the very interesting thing here. So what else did I see? Or what more did I hear? So for the truth, I'm going to tell you what I heard. And I've stated this a couple times too. I've stated this a few times of what I heard. In the last Crowley house, before they moved to 1051 Ramsdale Drive, Sidra, the sister, Kamel's sister, experienced something and saw something in the house. Thought it was David. It wasn't David. She freaked out, ran out. She saw David praying. And while David was praying, basically she saw things move from the daughter's shelf. Now, let me just say, when Sidra was sleeping in the daughter's room, the daughter woke up screaming. Sidra looked up, saw what she thought was David. It wasn't David, obviously. It was something. It was just something. This presence. There's something there. And when she told me this, she didn't sound crazy or anything like that. She actually said she didn't believe any of that stuff. She kind of really brushed it off like it wasn't any big deal. I don't think she was scared of it. I don't think it bothered her. I got the same feeling if you watch the documentary when Kamel is when she's on camera, when you see her on camera talking about something that she felt something or she heard something. Does she sound crazy to you? Because she doesn't sound crazy. From what I see, she sounds like almost shocked, like like impressed or something. I don't know. It was weird. But in that second one, where you don't see her, you just see the light going up. Um, she, talks about, uh, some very, very strange, and it's hard to hear. And I think we do need to find some good audio stuff and kind of pump up that volume in that video so we can hear it. The red man, where they're talking about the red man is gonna get you. Sidra told me that that was something that the parents would say to Rainey when she was acting out, when she was acting up. So I don't know. That was the whole thing. Because the red man was like, "What the heck? What do you mean the red man is gonna get you?" Still seemed a little strange, but that's the only thing I know about the red man. I think it was mentioned in one of the articles. I first thought it was mentioned in Alec Wilkinson's article. Now I'm thinking it's mentioned in Corey Zarowski's article for City Pages, because I've searched in the digital and the paper version of Alec Wilkinson's article, "Death of a Dystopian," and I didn't see it in there, but maybe I just missed it. So that whole Red Man thing was another issue, and then it was like, no reports of any paranormal activity or anything like that weird, that Sidra had. But when you see Kamel on screen, talking about that stuff, wouldn't you take it seriously? Wouldn't you think, okay, maybe there was something in there, and maybe it was a psyop, or maybe it was, people messing with her mind or something like that. But definitely it was something. I don't believe she was lying. She had no reason to lie. It's not like she went on YouTube and said all this stuff. She just basically was telling David, and he filmed it, almost like they were documenting it. They were documenting something that was happening there. So when all of this happened, and I heard about that story, it was like, this man, this needs to get out. And it was, apparently, I guess, it was supposed to be in the documentary. It might have been in there. So, and everybody, please be nice to Sidra's friend in the Facebook group. I know a lot of people have been, and I don't want the Sidra's friend who's in the Facebook group right now to be mad at everybody because maybe one or two people are kind of giving her crap, or not treating her how we should treat each other in that group, regardless of if you believe David Crowley is guilty or not. Um, I don't have a problem with talking with anybody who believes David Crowley is guilty. I think we can talk, we can agree to disagree, we can do all of that stuff. It's when people start lying, and it's when people start to accuse me of things, or start to act like I'm like hiding things or something like that. That's when that's when I start that's when I start blocking people. That's when I just say, okay, you know what? This person is not really interested in having a real conversation. They just want to argue. They want to, just get involved in all this childish stuff. They're not looking for the truth. And that's when I just block them. So please don't accuse me of anything. I mean, you can ask me, you can think. Like, it's one thing to say, you know what, I think you're trying to control this case, which somebody said, which is fine, because that's understandable from their point. You can look at it and see where they're coming from. And all I can do is just say, no, I'm not doing that, A, B, C, D. That's it. And then we just agree to disagree on that, and then that should be it. I have no problem with somebody calling me out on anything that I do wrong, or anything that I've done. That's fine. You should definitely feel free to do that in a respectful way. I would hope, but that's all you can really do. It's the people that accuse us and tell us we're lying, or this or that, and it's like, oh man, come on, like, what are you talking about? How many times do I have to tell you that that's not true? You have no evidence of it, and you just keep spouting and spouting and spouting. It's like, what are you talking about? So, anyways, getting off on a little rant there, but uh, the red man. Okay, Opiami says psyop is real. If they were targeted, this would be easily explained. I'm less inclined to consider paranormal. And I can understand that. The paranormal thing, I've kind of, held my tongue on it, because there really isn't any evidence that paranormal activity led to these murders, or led to these deaths. But I think I think it's an avenue that needs to be thoroughly checked out, thoroughly checked out. And so I'm really I'm gonna stay on that. And I'm curious about the new people in the house. Seem like great people. They're Christians in the house too, and they were gracious enough to join the group. And man, I'll tell you, I don't know if you've seen the picture that Mason Hendricks did, that he posted on his website of that of the wall, right? He's got a photo of the blood wall after it was painted over, after it was covered up. It's a black and white photo. Later took it down. Did not like that we put it up. But, anyways, that photo has always been kind of a thorn in our spine, kind of because it was very, very bad taste, first of all. Makes no sense why you would take that photo, why you would post that photo on your website, whatever. But the wall is painted white, and so there were questions about that blood wall. And there were questions about why the paint only came up to here, but where the writing was should have came up to here. So shouldn't there be more of the white primer on top? And I forget who brought that up, but I think a few people brought that up, and I was like, wow, didn't see that. That's great to know. Let's look at that and see why. Maybe they tried washing off that wall and they just weren't able to get that top part. But yes, I mean, if the police intended to cover up the whole blood writing on the wall, then the white paint should be higher than where it is. Now, getting back to the point of that photo, you look at that photo, and it's been a thorn. It's been something I've looked at, and it's just like this is messed up. The new owner of the house posted posted a photo taken at the same level, almost shot for shot, to show what the house looks like now. Man, I almost cried because it's so beautiful. I just get a very good feeling just thinking about it right now. It's very, very high hopes for that house, for that family, and I just hope that they'll keep an open mind. And if there are any weird things, any paranormal things, let's not wait for that. Let's get a pastor in there. If you're Christian, ask your pastor to come in the house to bless it. You don't have to believe any of that, but it can't hurt. Is all I'm saying. It can't hurt, and I just please, I'm begging you to please do that. Please think about it. I posted it. She hasn't responded to that comment. She's responded. She's been responding to a lot of things. I think she's going to continue to be a part of the group as long as people are nice and respectful to her. And I think for the most part everybody has been. I can't think of anyone who hasn't been. So got a little off track there, but that photo, the photo she posted, just has really calmed me down, has really soothed my heart, has really, given me a big sigh of relief. And I'm not sure why. I don't know why, but maybe it's just the paranormal thing, because I was for a while, I was really fixated on it and really looking into any evidence of the occult stuff and all that. So when it was later included in the documentary, I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting a lot more than what they actually had. And I think they do have a lot more footage. Let's see. Inside the Cave says, I think she was doing some kind of channeling or self-healing hypnosis, possibly when she experienced that. Yeah, that's the other thing. What I asked the friend, since Sidra is not talking about this, but Sidra's friend, I asked her, were there any other paranormal things or any other thing? Was there any paranormal activity before Kamel met David? And she said no. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. Um, did they have a Moloch out? Yeah, it's the owl. I don't know if you've seen that photo. It's in the BCA photos that show it's in David's office bedroom. And you almost wouldn't notice it if you didn't know what you were looking for. And it's almost odd that they don't take, or we don't have a good shot of it. Now, a lot of people have said, we want a picture of the full owl. But if you've seen the Bohemian Grove owl, you've seen photos, you've seen video of it, and you look at this photo inside of David's office bedroom, it's the same owl, and I think it's cut off. The image is cut off right at the very top, so you see it. You see the whole owl. To me, there's no doubt that is a Bohemian Grove owl. That is the now Moloch. I don't know about the Moloch thing because that goes into a whole topic of is the Bohemian owl Moloch, because Moloch did something like that, but there's no direct link between Moloch and the Bohemian owl. But I guess that's a topic for another talk, which I'd love to talk more about that too. I just found that very, very odd. How could that be connected? Why would he have that in there? There's no mention. I've never seen any social media, never seen anything that David posted that mentions any owl or anything like that. All right, just gonna wrap this up here pretty soon, but I just wanted to see. So inside the cave, where's the photo that Hendricks took, the black and white one? So if you're a part of the Facebook group, it's in there. It's in the photos section. It's one of the top photos. But if you want me to send it to you, send me a message through my Gmail, gregfernandezii@gmail.com, and I will forward that photo to you. I'll forward you the Bohemian Grove owl photo in case you don't have it, but it is in those documents. Mason Hendricks photo is in the photo section in the group, so you can definitely find it there. In that same thread where you see his photo, his black and white photo, you'll see the good photo of what the house looks like now. It was just so awesome. It was so unexpected of the new owner to post that. I'm just so grateful that she posted it. I can't tell you enough how grateful I am. It just gives me a really good feeling for the future. When I heard they had children in the house too, I was very, very scared for them. Right? I was praying. I was like, what? Three kids. The kids are older, so I'm not too worried. And they have I think 2 or 3 dogs, which I know can ward off evil spirits, can ward off demons, and I think they have a cat too. Cats can see these things. I think just my view. The cats can really see these things. So I hope that helps. Unless there's any other questions here, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down now. I thank everybody for joining me here. We're gonna keep marching on. Truth lives. We are gonna get to the truth. I understand if people want to quit. If you want to quit, if you want to stop, that's fine. Please be careful when trying to encourage other people to. Now, this Catherine lady, I think when she was, talking about stopping, talking about quitting, I think she was very sincere. I don't think she wanted people to stop because she didn't, they were getting too close to the truth or she's a psyop thing. I don't believe that. I really don't. Right now, I don't see any evidence, any proof of that. She seems nice. She seems like just a regular person, just like us, looking into all of this stuff. So we have to be careful not to just judge people by a couple YouTube videos and things like that. But always watch, always note everything. We're in this. We're in this. We're going to get to the truth, and don't let anybody tell you that they have the truth, because they don't. They have speculation, and that's it. Don't let me tell you that I have the truth on this, because I don't, and I'll never state that I do. Okay? I have not seen any evidence that would lead me to think that David Crowley is guilty. I just want to make that very clear. So thank you all again. Look forward to everybody in the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group. Appreciate everybody who's joined, everyone who's thought about joining. I understand people that are not on Facebook. If you still want to join into our conference calls, send me a message so I can make sure we get you on that list and make sure that you can participate in that too. Appreciate everybody. God bless you all. Jesus loves you. I love you. And we're in this together. We're going to get to the truth here. Don't be fixated on this case. Don't let this control you. Don't let the negative feelings, don't let the fear, don't let any of that bother you. It cannot stand against you. It cannot stand against Christ. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you later.